Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, faculty and students, welcome to the end of the year event of the TAU International Graduate Programs. For those who don't know me, my name is Dr. Ari Nesher, and I'm the Professional Director of the Porter School of Environmental Studies, which sponsors one of the international programs on the environment. I'm pleased to be your Master of Ceremony this evening. The Director of the International School, Maureen Meyer Adiri, couldn't be with us this evening for a happy reason. She gave a birth to a boy, and we wish her and her family Mazal Tov. She sent her best wishes. And now, please join me in welcoming the 200 students present tonight who represent the following program. I will call each one, and they will come and enter the hall. MA in Conflict Resolution and Mediation. Here they come. The next program, MA in Crisis and Trauma Studies. Okay. Now the third program is MPH, Emergency and Disaster Management. Please take your seat. And now, MA in Environmental Studies. And now, the Bonita Trust LLM programs. And now, MA in Middle Eastern Studies. And now MA in Migration Studies. And now, MA in Political Science, Political Communications. And now, MA in Security and Diplomacy. This is one of our larger programs, no wonder. Okay, and now Software International MBA Program. And the last program, MA in TESOL, Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages, a small program. Please take your seats. Tonight, we are celebrating the culmination of a journey of over 300 international students who joined us for their master's degrees from all around the world. We regret that not all are able to be present tonight, as some students had to return home by now. As this event is being live streamed, we are glad that they can at least be with us virtually. 10 months ago, you our dear students, came to Israel, you are the enablers of our vision. Carefully selected, you have lived up to our expectations. You have formed a network, friendships, and above all, demonstrated outstanding academic commitment and exploration of the truth. The focus remains on you. As you graduate, we encourage you to put your newly acquired skills to the practical test. Get out there. We believe in your ability to complete this task and to effect change in communities, organizations, political situations, and whenever your dreams lead you. We look forward to a global conversation along our alumni network. We see you all as long-term partners in our journey to train leaders that will make a change. And now I would like to call our President of Tel Aviv University, and it's my pleasure to invite Professor Yossi Klafter, who is one of the most active supporters of TAU internalization. Yossi, please.
Thank you very much. Deans, faculty members, colleagues and staff, parents, students, and our guest and keynote speaker, Ambassador Michael Oren. Welcome to this end-of-the-year ceremony for Tel Aviv University's international graduate programs. This ceremony is a chance to sum up your program experience. For you, this day concludes an intensive and, I believe, fascinating and fun-filled year of academic culture, of learning and adventure. But this year has been a special year and actually not that easy. Beyond the fun, you also had some air raid sirens, which were unexpected and unfortunate. But the university, at least I believe, tried to be as protective as possible under the circumstances. I would like to emphasize that we very, very much appreciate your fortitude in staying the course despite everything. Thank you really very, very much. We appreciate your family's support and understanding. In particular, I would like to say that I and the university appreciate your helping us to send a message from Israel that our positive and contribution to the world in the form of exporting our know-how and creating knowledge will continue no matter what. Thank you. You, as future graduates, give us a good reason to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. This is an easy statement. Yes, you are all accomplished individuals. And despite the very real challenges facing all of us, I have a great confidence in your capability and prospects. We have tried to provide you with the best education and training possible. Your new Tel Aviv University TAU experience, together with your natural intellectual gifts and your creativity, will give you and provide you, I believe, with a very effective toolbox for the future. The management of Tel Aviv University, and for me especially, the globalization of Tel Aviv University is the core of the strategic goals that we defined for the coming years. And we are very proud that here in this auditorium, we have now students from 41 countries spread over 6 continents. This is, for us, quite an achievement. Our English language offerings have expanded to 13 graduate level programs, more than any other institution in Israel. The university takes pride in these programs as they enable us to show you the very best of Tel Aviv University, of the city of Tel Aviv, and of Israel. I would like to part with the hope that you will settle in your new career. When you settle, you will remain committed to the success and reputation of your program, faculty, and the university. We look forward to your staying involved and engaged. And we actually enlarge now our family, and we view you as part of the Tel Aviv University family. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Maureen Adiri-Meyer, the head of the Tel Aviv University TAI International, and her tireless staff, and again wish her mazel tov on the birth of her newborn son. I would like to thank you again for joining Tel Aviv University family. Thank you for making us proud, and not saying goodbye, but see you again and lehitraot.
Thank you, Professor Klafter. And now I am pleased to introduce one of your students, Ms. Gabriela Adirim, from the Master's Program on Disaster Management. Couple words about Gabriela. Our student speaker today, Gabriela Adirim, is graduating from the International Emergency and Disaster Management Program. She is a former Los Angeles native with an undergraduate degree in political science from the University of California, Santa Barbara. During her time as an undergraduate, she spent a semester abroad studying at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, where she immediately fell in love with the vibrant lifestyle and culture of Israel. Going back and forth between living in California and Israel, she eventually decided Israel was to be her home and made Aliyah in August of 2012. She hopes to work in her field and utilize her skill to help others in times of crisis here in Israel. Gabriela, please.
Thank you for the introduction. Shalom lekulam and good evening. I look back on that first day during orientation week last October. After the general introductions, we were brought into a basement classroom/bomb shelter with a palpable lack of fresh air and no actual sunlight, a classroom we would later be thankful for come to the end of our year. A group of 10 North American girls, unbeknownst to us, such a homogeneous group would make up a little family with quite diverse thoughts, feelings, and ideas. As orientation day continued on, we sat in that mamad-turned classroom, listening to what was to be expected, for us and from us, and listening in anticipation, trying to only imagine the year ahead and what we had gotten ourselves into. At this point, I don't believe any one of us truly understood. Taking a mindful stroll down memory lane, we have learned more than we could have imagined, except for the definition of the word deadline. Sorry, Kobe and Gilly. And yes, we learned an abundance of material in the classroom, but what we really learned was outside of it. We learned a new way to be students, interacting and speaking with professors whose day jobs range from creating and influencing the laws in this country to representing the emergency preparedness for Israeli civilians through all different media channels, to publishing the most advanced research in the international field, and of course, carrying a grown man over a 2-meter-high pile of rubble. At times, we may not have known the right answers or the perfect response, but our professors grew to love and appreciate our certain brand of knowledge and our way of thinking. And we grew to love and appreciate their patience and understanding, and the fact that we now know more than we ever thought was possible about the earthquake response in Haiti. Most importantly, we learned how lucky we are to have had the opportunity to study in the leading country in this field. Now, I must say, when I was informed that I would be the student to give this speech, well, firstly, I responded to Roy, our beloved program coordinator. Ma, od pam? I was very excited, but mostly nervous. What the heck do I have to say that could warrant so many people's attention for these few minutes? Despite this, I am thankful for the opportunity because it is such an interesting time in this country to be given a platform to speak. These days, tools of reaching people have become quite accessible and also quite powerful. A computer, a smartphone, a tablet, and of course, the more traditional, a microphone. How one chooses to use this power, however, that is the important part. Presently, anytime one opens Facebook or Twitter or any other social media platform, they are inundated with very personal and sadly very angry vitriol. So asked to impart some words to my fellow classmates at the end of such an interesting journey, well, I'd say that it's been quite the undertaking. I'm in the same position as most of you here are, a graduate student with a master's degree in hand, knowing a lot more about my field, but only minimally more about life. That is how it goes, I guess. Little by little, we discover more, and as I am sure we have all learned this year, lizrom, and take life as it comes. Nonetheless, I would say the most important thing we can take away from this experience, studying in Tel Aviv, studying in Israel, studying in the Middle East, studying in an absolutely connected, but yet still mind-bogglingly disconnected world, is the importance of knowledge. That quest for truth and understanding, it can get so very blurry when engulfed in smoke. But we graduates were given the opportunity to learn and grow, soak up every opportunity studying in Israel affords, the good, the bad, the ugly, and I'll add to that, which I hope we all can attest to, the beautiful. Education and its subsequent knowledge is the greatest contributor to the growth of humanity. However, it unfortunately can be used and twisted to fit any agenda. But luckily, it can also be used to untwist that knot that oftentimes becomes so mixed up and tight. I think we, as Tel Aviv University graduates, have a responsibility to take all our experiences and all the knowledge we've garnered here and apply it to this important quest. We must take the circumstances of our present world and use it to motivate and encourage us to reach further, to grow wider, to think bigger. Looking around us, things may oftentimes seem bleak or difficult, but it is just this darker sky to allow us to shine brighter. It is merely an opportunity for us to do more than we ever thought was possible. I'll ask from you, my fellow graduates, what I ask from myself, to do just that. Take what we have learned here and utilize it to make this world that much better. We have been given the chance to see the world in a new light, learning in not just a foreign country, but a foreign country that stands on a stage in front of the entire world, allowing us to see from the audience, and now as well from on top that stage. I'm so unbelievably thankful to have had the opportunity to study in the place I love so much, the place which has become my home, for the support of my family during this journey, and the love for my old friends and the new ones I've made. Thank you so much, and b'hatzlacha to the class of 2014.
Thank you, Gabriela. It is my pleasure to invite our keynote speaker tonight, Ambassador Michael Oren. A couple words about Michael Oren. Michael Oren served as Israel ambassador to the United States from 2009 to 2013. The foreword named Ambassador Oren one of the 5 most influential Jews in America. His last 2 books, Power, Faith, and Fantasy, America in the Middle East from 1776 to the present, and the second book, 6 Days of War, were both New York Times bestsellers. He won the Los Angeles Times History Book of the Year Award and the National Jewish Book Award. Ambassador Oren is now the Abba Eban Chair of International Diplomacy at the Interdisciplinary Center in Herzliya. He has also joined CNN as a Middle East contributor. We are honored that he made his time to speak this evening. Please, Ambassador Oren.
Shalom kulam. Hello, everybody. President Klafter, graduating class, TAU International 2014, Mazal Tov. So I'm going to date myself a little bit. I may be a little bit older than most people in this room. Who's got their parents here? Somebody? Good. Very good. Good. Then you understand. Because you may remember a few years back, there was a Broadway musical called Fiddler on the Roof. Remember it? Good, good. Okay. Remember it was a movie, also a big movie, Hollywood movie. High schools pull it on. Fiddler on the Roof tells a story of Tevye, who was a milkman in a poor village in the Jewish Pale of Settlement, a poor village known as a shtetl back in the 19th century. Now, the story of Tevye the milkman is based on a short story by the great Yiddish author Sholem Aleichem, and the play and the movie present an idealized vision of the shtetl, the small village. It's impoverished, yes. It's plagued periodically by pogroms, but it's also deeply traditional, warmly insular, quaint, and self-contained. The hit song of Fiddler on the Roof, you may remember, was If I Were a Rich Man, yada, 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 which has, but another song has Tevye extolling the virtues of tradition, and another song has him talking about tradition. Remember tradition? Tradition. I'm not going to sing this for you. I'm not going to go that far. Poverty and tradition were the two permanent characteristics of shtetl life. Nevertheless, in America, at least, Fiddler on the Roof sparked a great wave of nostalgia for the shtetl, for a simpler Jewish life, a life without sovereign responsibilities, a life that was detached from the world. And the shtetl, and shtetl you should know is a Yiddish word derived from the German word for town or small city, was indeed without sovereign responsibilities and was virtually cut off from the outside world. Russian and Eastern Jews back at that time were, for the most part, confined by law to their shtetls, and their only contact with the outside world was either through strictly controlled trade or through community leaders, usually the rabbis, who acted as emissaries to local princes and lords. They were the so-called court Jews, the shtadlanim, literally the lobbyists, the shtadlan. And in Shalom Aleicham's story, Tevye, you may remember, is blessed, some might say afflicted, with multiple daughters. Each of whom has a mind of her own. And the daughters, each one represents a choice that Jews could make as they entered the modern age. One daughter chooses to become a communist. One chooses to move to America. But another option is moving here, to the land of Israel, and one option is to become a Zionist. Now, Zionism, in its concept, sought to put an end to the shtetl. Zionism sought to create a Jewish state in which Jews could defend themselves, develop economically, and interact with the world like any other normal state. Zionism embarked on what you could call the de-shtetlisation of the Jewish people. Got that one? De-shtetlisation. And Zionism, as developed by Theodor Herzl, placed a premium on foreign policy. While Zionist pioneers worked the land, Herzl fulfilled the role of the shtadlan. He went around representing the Jewish people in European courts, and the goal was to achieve international recognition of the Jewish people's right to a national home in their ancestral homeland, here in the land of Israel. And that recognition was attained in the Balfour Declaration of November 1917 that indeed recognized the existence of a Jewish people with a right to a homeland. Today, neither the Palestinian Authority nor most of the world community, it must be said, is willing to recognize Israel as the nation-state of the Jewish people. But Zionism, nevertheless, continued to stress the importance of foreign policy. Foreign policy was essential in securing the British mandate over Palestine, which was charged with implementing the promises of the Balfour Declaration. Zionist foreign policy was instrumental in passing the UN Partition Resolution of November 1947, which created an Arab and a Jewish state in Palestine. And Zionist foreign policy was crucial in obtaining the recognition of the United States, the first nation in the world to recognize the state of Israel, almost at the moment of its birth on May 14, 1948. On that day, Zionist foreign policy became Israeli foreign policy. But the request to de-shtetlize the Jewish state had only begun. Now, the goal was to replicate that great achievement of the Balfour Declaration. It was recognition of a Jewish people endowed with the right of self-determination to a free state in their own homeland. But de-shtetlisation also meant building bridges between Israel and the world. And both those goals proved elusive. Herzl and most other Zionist thinkers, Jabotinsky is a notable exception, did not foresee that the future Jewish state would be in a permanent state of war with its neighbors. Zionist thinkers did not, of course, predict the outbreak of the Cold War, which for the first 40 years of Israel's existence divided the Middle East into pro-Western and pro-Soviet camps and forced Israel to navigate between battling superpowers. In response to what became known as the Arab-Israeli conflict, some of you might have studied about it, Israeli foreign policy in the 1950s and 1960s adopted what was called the center-periphery approach. If Israel was at war with Egypt, Jordan, in Syria, in our center, then Israel would cultivate friendly relations with the periphery, with Turkey, Iran, and with Africa. In the Cold War, Israel, tried at first to remain neutral. It didn't work. The Soviet bloc, China, even the non-aligned countries that were led by India supported the other side. So much for neutrality. Israel became not only politically and culturally, but also strategically associated with the West. It started with the supply, believe it or not, of Israeli orange juice to NATO forces in the Korean War in the 1950s. But the international arena is always very highly dynamic, particularly here in the Middle East. The Arab-Israeli conflict and the Cold War converged in the Six-Day War of 1967. Israel defeated 3 Arab armies. 2 of them were backed by the Soviet Union. And the war had a profound impact on Israel's foreign policy. Formerly allied with France, Israel established a strategic alliance with the United States. It started the peace process based on UN Resolution 242, which established the principle of territory for peace. And perhaps most profoundly, for the first time since 1948, the Palestinians in the West Bank, in Gaza, and in Israel were reunited under one government, the government of Israel. Palestinian nationalism came to the fore, and the Arab-Israeli conflict was gradually replaced by the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Diplomatically, strategically, the Middle East remained fluid. Israel made peace with 2 of the countries in the center, with Egypt and Jordan, and lost its alliances with 2 of the countries on the periphery, with Iran and with Turkey. African states broke off relations with Israel after the 1973 Yom Kippur War, and then tried to restore relations starting in the 1990s. The Soviet bloc collapsed. China and India established diplomatic relations with Israel, and in place of the Cold War became a struggle between Western society and radical Islam. And in that struggle, Israel did not have much of debate on which side it would take. But the continuation of Israeli control over the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza, the growth of Israeli settlements in those territories, the dispute over Jerusalem, all those factors impeded the destabilization process. Increasingly, the Arab-Israeli conflict, perhaps even more than the Cold War and the old Arab-Israeli conflict, threatened to put Israel back into the shtetl. Now, I don't want to exaggerate here. In recent months, we've heard a lot of threats, including threats from some of our closest friends, that the status quo in the territory threatens to isolate Israel internationally. Historically speaking, Israel is probably less isolated today than at any point in its history. Just take China and India alone, that accounts for half of humanity that recognize Israel today. But we cannot overlook the events that have occurred in the last few weeks. Israel was attacked by Hamas. It's internationally recognized as a terrorist organization operating from Gaza, an area from which Israel has completely withdrawn in 2005. Hamas hid behind Palestinian civilians, hoping that Israel would kill a large number of those civilians, all the while Hamas trying to kill a large number of our civilians. And while hundreds of Palestinians have tragically died in this conflict, Israeli forces did take unprecedented measures to try to limit the impact on the Palestinian civilian battle areas. And yet, in Europe and in South America especially, the overwhelming outrage was not at Hamas. The overwhelming outrage has been at Israel. And 21st century Jews, particularly in Europe, suffered anti-Semitic attacks that would have been very familiar to 19th century Jews back in the shtetl. The UN Secretary General has accused Israel of committing atrocities during the recent conflict in Gaza, and international bodies have prepared charges against Israel for committing war crimes. Welcome back to the shtetl. But de-shtetlisation is not just an external threat. De-shtetlisation is an internal challenge as well. The early Zionists recognized that the shtetl was not just a physical place. The shtetl was a state of mind. And the Jewish state was intended to replace that state of mind. But now, 66 years after our establishment, that state of mind persists in some significant ways. Now, you go to Washington, D.C., where I just spent the last 4.5 years, and you'll find dozens of research institutes that deal with foreign policy, one right after another. In Israel, there are a great many institutes that deal with security studies, a very fine one here at Tel Aviv University, but there are relatively few institutes that deal with international relations. In America, the Secretary of State is expected to have significant experience in foreign relations. Not so in the state of Israel. The defense minister in this country is pretty much expected to have been a former general, but the foreign minister does not need a background in diplomacy. In Israel, foreign affairs takes a back seat to security affairs. But the distinction between the two, it must be said, is artificial. Strengthening Israel's foreign relations is vital to ensuring Israel's security. Guaranteeing Israel's place in the world is essential for safeguarding Israelis at home. Now, we have a wonderful and immensely powerful army, but unless we create diplomatic space, our tanks will not be able to maneuver, our planes will not be able to take off. How then can we accomplish this? How can we advance the process of de-shtetilization? Try saying that 5 times. De-shtetilization. One way is by harnessing Israel's advantage in high-tech to build bridges to the world, especially to the developing world. Israel's water technologies, advances in alternative energy can reinforce our ties with much of Africa, with Latin America, and the Far East. Israel should take robust measures to reduce our economic dependence on those countries threatening to boycott us, including those countries threatening to boycott us today. And we have to diversify our international trade. Our enemies, Hamas in particular, employ media strategies designed to delegitimize Israel and to deny us the right to defend ourselves. Just see how well that worked just now in Gaza. It worked very, very well. Israel must invest much more extensively in defending itself against that strategy. We must develop a diplomatic Iron Dome, if you will, and it must be based on rapid responses to the enemy's exaggerated or even fabricated claims against us. We must put a human face on our case to portray Israel not only as an unfeeling army, but as a normal people grappling with abnormal circumstances. And we must define our enemy not only as our enemy, but as the antithesis of civilization's most sacred principles, the principles for which Israel stands and the principles for which Israelis fight. De-shtetilization depends also on ensuring a vital and vibrant relationship with diaspora Jews, and especially with American Jewry. The diaspora is our hinterland, and as a small country bordered by dangerous adversaries, we need every inch of our hinterland. Israel is the nation-state of the Jewish people, but it must be the nation-state of all the Jewish people, irrespective of how they choose to practice or not to practice their Judaism. De-shtetilization requires maintaining and strengthening our alliance with the United States, our greatest and most powerful ally. Yes, there will be differences between us. And sometimes, regrettably, those differences leak out into public. You may have read the news today. But America has no alternative to a democratic ally that is situated in the strategically crucial Middle East, that is scientifically, technologically, and militarily robust, and which is totally, unapologetically, unabashedly pro-American. And Israel certainly has no alternative to the world's biggest and strongest democracy. And while support for Israel among Americans is today at an all-time high, about 75% of Americans define themselves as pro-Israel, we must constantly strive to make that statistic higher. Finally, and most urgently, I believe that in order to de-shtetilize, Israel must end its control of the Palestinian population in Judea and Samaria. The Palestinian Authority has in any case announced its intention of declaring an independent Palestinian state in all of the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. Israel must launch a Zionist initiative to declare its own borders, borders that embrace the maximum number of Israelis include the places that are holy to the Jewish people, and assure the military deployment necessary to defend Israel. A destabilized Israel will have a border dispute with the Palestinian state, but it'll be much like the dozens of other border disputes that exist elsewhere in the world, whether between England and Spain, between the United States and Canada. And like many of those states, Israel will remain willing to resolve its border dispute with the Palestinians at the negotiating table. Of course, destabilization is not only in our hands. We live in a region in which any Western-style democratic state, not necessarily a Jewish state, would find itself alone and often embattled. Nevertheless, it is incumbent on us to pursue the vision of the founding fathers and mothers of this country, to lift ourselves up out of the shtetl and place ourselves amiably and securely among the family of nations. You, the graduates of Tel Aviv University's International, you can help realize this vision. You can deepen the world's sensitivity to Israel and in turn heighten awareness in Israel about the importance of the world. Those of you who are graduating from political science, conflict resolution, diplomacy, this is a place where you can go. Like Tevia's daughters, you all have choices that you can make in your life. And I'm sure some of you go back to your home countries and pursue engaging careers in a variety of fields. But should you choose to stay here, should you choose to join us and help us in the destabilization process, I can make you a few promises. I promise you a life of tradition, if you want it. I unequivocally promise you that you will not be millionaires, that you will be able to sing with your full-throatedness, if I were a rich man or a woman. And I absolutely promise you a stimulating career helping Israel to realize the Zionist vision of a modern state successfully engaged with the world. Mazal tov. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Oren, for your lovely lecture. Now, we're taking a break, and we have a musical piece. I would like to ask Miss Johnny Kenani. Where is she? She's already there. Okay. And the song, can we see you? Okay. The song is Happy Prophetic, a Cosmic Song, and by Yoni Rechter. Please.
And Eran Zehavi as well. You are welcome to join me. כמו עמוד ענן, כך תלך לפני העדר, תבין הכל תדע, לא תאמר מילה אחת. כמו עמוד עשן, תיעלם בתוך החדר, משהו בך יאמר לך המשך בדרכך. כמו שביל החלב שחוצה את השמיים, אתה הולך ישר, לא שם לב לכוכבים שזוהרים כדי לסנוור את העיניים. משהו בך יאמר לך המשך בדרכך. הולך ישר, לך לבד, אל תפחד, אל תכעס, לך תמים, לך אחד, כמו אבז הבא שחולף בשמי הערב, הוא טס בראש החץ, לא נרתע מן המרחק, והאינסטינקט מראה ובורר את הדרך. משהו בך יאמר לך המשך בדרכך. כמו בריג'יט ברדו שתפסה כבר את מתכוון, תן לעצמך ללכת, כל החישובים ייגמרו מעליהם, כמו העץ שקם לתחייה מן השלכת, משהו בך יאמר לך המשך, לך ישר, לך לבד, אל תפחד, אל תכעס, לך תמיד, לך אחד, כמו עמוד ענן. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donnie. And now we're going to have a short presentation of TAI International, a short movie.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Of your life.
As we are coming to the end of our ceremony, I'm now pleased to invite the programs one by one to come up to the stage. I'll call each program and the student will come up, and obviously with the organizers of the program. We'll start. MA in Conflict Resolution and Mediation. Shaina Moliver and Jay Rosen, please.
Samantha Abrams. Sushil Adhikari. Ilan David Bass. Oana Bara. Karen Bialostowski Asses. Judith Bresker. Ellen Castella. Marina Dubov. Glenn Field. Shira Megan Goldblum. Federico Gonzalez White. Hannah Lastiola Friedman. Yuki Lee. Trude Rebecca Levar. Katharina Maurer. Namadanobi Chloe K. Wangu. Shana Orlick. Zachary Bennett Oser. Michal Ragwan. Sarah Reef Schneider. Daniela Bianca Sheps. Maria Concepcion Ciazar. Elliot Talbert Goldstein. Elizabeth Tolkien. Gerardo Tremont. Nadia Zena Warayat.
And now, MA in Social Work, specializing in crisis and trauma studies, Professor Einat Peled and Neely Palmer, please.
Jessica Bukrinsky. Maya Duarte. Yael Goldberg. Adina Goldfarb. Noah Jacob. Sevasti Lazaru. Kyla Lipsman. Dalia Nisel. Jonathan Rappaport. Ariel Reiner. Tomoko Tsuzi. Axel Valle. Pamela Wageman.
And now, MPH, Emergency and Disaster Management. I'd like to ask Gili Shenar and Roy Gottlieb to come up.
Gabriela Adirim. Zoe Blatt. Naomi Kaplan. Brigitte Eisenkit. Hannah Katz. April Priest.
And now, my program, MA in International Studies, and I would like Jennifer Gar to help me.
Stephen Ackerman. Antonella Ballerini. Slowly when I call your name. Brent Ifune. Daniel Buchan. Philip Gash. Maria Goez. Ricky Liebenholk. Naomi Mpofu. Grecia Munoz. Giacomo Pesaro. Hannah Samper. Sarah Singer. Enrique Sisa. Ilan Spitzberg. And last but not least, Maggie Weigel.
And now, LLM, Professor Eyal Benvenisti and Jessica Rosenthal, please.
Maya Atrachki and Mika. Julie Groh. Chaya Nussbaum. Dami Pustilnik and Ronit. Reika Sato. Lisa Sferrazza. You're welcome. Geraldine Sheffetz.
Okay, the next program is MA in Middle Eastern Studies.
Abby Berggren. Davy Friedman. Hope Grigsby. Emmanuel Honora. Yavuz Kaimak. Allison Krimmer. Adam Moss. Meta Lintrup. Melanie Posh. Charlotte Payan. Jocelyn Ramia. Samantha Sisiski. Valerie Strassman. Francesco Torelli. Yeah. And Eric Wilson.
And now, MA in Migration Studies, Professor Noah Epstein and Maya Politis. בבקשה.
Jesse Verkowitz. Rebecca DeVries. Olivier Fala. Dana Goodman. Jenna Newlander. Elizabeth Shen. Liana Zeitlin. Courtney White, and Chao Yu Chen.
Congratulations. The next, MA in Political Science in Action, Leadership, Communication, and Election, Professor Amal Jamal and Meital Galigar, please.
Political Science and Political Communication.
Leadership, Communication, Election.
We are the MA in Political Science and Political Communication. James Delmore.
Congratulations.
Maria Rosario Hernandez. Roman Kopit. Anne Clara Laugesen. Claudio Musoto. Anne Poulsen. Anna Rivina. Daniel Roth. And Jordana Wolf.
The next program, MA in Security and Diplomacy, Professor Yossi Shine and Sharon Abramovich, please.
Just wanted to say that I represent Professor Azar Gat, who couldn't be here.
David Alush. Eliana Brown. Sigal Beresin. Daniel Bleiberg. Giorgio Bonadiman. Ari Buchman. Susanna Christiansen. Leah Krogan. Petros Eftichiu. Edith Gabriel. David Geslowitz. Benjamin Graham. David Gramig. Julianne Helmholtz. Matthew Horowitz. Jacob Huskin. Galia Jaramillo. Sarah Cohen. David Loving. William Markley. Ojok Benjua. Manuela Rota Fixler. Eva Rybar. Mariana Salas Muñez. Ifeolua Sande. Ingrid Schweikert. Micaela Semetska. Lara Karina Suarez. Michelle Tabariai. Margot Tebul. Sammy Unterman. Christine Van Laar. Sarah Weinberg. Dylan White. Benjamin Winnick. Denise Wood. And Jonathan Yeoman.
And now, Sofer International MBA Program, Professor Shimon Beninga and Rebecca Ash, please.
Dana Al-Mumayed. Ariel Berger. Katya Berman. Alia Baranbe. Rachel Brender. Tair Brown. Monica Kaner. Hannah Karimi. Ariel Couquier. Natalie Edwards. Brenda Finkelstein. Avian Gallo.
No kisses for you.
Sharanya Gopalan Krishna.
Thank you.
Ilan Ifergen. Tamer Jaber. Nantle Cabaniane. Gregory Canterman.
Wow. You want a kiss? I don't think so. He likes it. You want to play better.
John David Klausner.
JD?
Samuel Klein.
It's more fun with girls.
Ido Levy.
Wow. Got it.
Michal Lipschitz. Jinghao Liu. Leonard Pater. Elor Pruvli. Rabab Saad. Sharon Schnauch.
No kiss? Come on. It's my only chance.
David Seidenberg.
If you want a kiss, I can go behind the one.
Uriel Snyder. Aya Tofach. Tuang Tran.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nina Wannerman.
My only chance to kiss every girl.
Sarah Williamowski. Maya Zimmerman. Mad Zurail.
Always the last one, right?
And now the last program, MA in TESOL. I would like to ask Elena Spector-Cohen to come up.
word, we're an unusually small program tonight because the TESOL program is the only program that actually starts with the summer session and ends in the spring semester. So I'm absolutely delighted that I have two students still here. So please give them a very warm welcome. Where are they? Ilana Hadar. And Reisi Yassavul.
Thank you. You were all great. And thank you again coming, and good luck in the future. And enjoy the rest of your stay in Israel, and wherever you go, be our ambassadors. Bye.